tell us what position you're running for with Atlanta Board of Education.
Yes, ma'am. My name is Patreece Hutcherson, and I ran last time 2017, and I had you guys support, and I'm so glad to be running again for Atlanta Public School Board District 6.
Thank you so very much. What do you do for a living?
Yes, ma'am. I have been a school counselor for over 20 plus years, and that's my actual career job. But I'm a full-time mom and now full-time activist
How long have you lived in Atlanta?
all my life.
All your life. So you're native of Atlanta.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, there are a lot of people from Atlanta that are running, and we are pleased to see that.
Yes, ma'am.
In the room with me are some educators and executive board members.
Thank you so
And
much.
you're welcome. So we know that Atlanta has a lot of charter schools, more than any other school district, I think, in the state. What are some of the other models that we could use to better serve our children and students, other
Yes,
than charter?
absolutely. So, I am from the Atlanta Public School System, and I attended Magnus Jones, graduated from Booker T. Washington. Booker T. Washington has been there since 1924, and that'll be 100 years in just 3 years. And so, what we want are schools that are in our community, not just for us, just a little while with contracts, but we want to be owners of what is in our community. So, right now, we have totally dismantled the South Side Atlanta public school system. And we need to bring back that stability of making sure that we have ownership of our schools. And right now we don't have that. So my goal is to make sure that we bring back the stability in our school system, make people know that they have that option of being in their school, and show them where their dollars actually will do the best by supporting our public school system. We don't want to come back to something that could be not there 100 years from now or 200 years from now. It needs to be there forever. Just like our police department, just like our fire department, the city and the state, we own these things for a reason because it works when the people run it.
Thank you for that answer. The neighborhood has changed so much in the Washington High School area, Brown Middle School, and so forth. Is there any gentrification taking place in that area right now?
Oh my goodness, it is so much. It took me kind of by surprise. I was driving through the Washington Park community, but of course I'm in the Thero cluster that I'm running for. But I was going through the Washington Park area and I saw like people walking their dogs that were Caucasians. I just have not seen anything like that before. So what I was told is that they are getting grants or something to come and live in our community, to come back to the city. And while, every society needs to make sure that we have people that come into our community. We need to have those dollars in our community, but it should not be at the expense of losing who is there right now. So if it means that it's going to inflate our taxes, we don't need it. If it means that it's going to take someone else's home away from them, then we don't need it. We need to make sure that we're all together in this, not just one particular group is now coming in and taking over. That's not fair.
Now, of course, we know that in a development, we need development, we need confidence, we need each other. And I hear what you're saying, not at the expense of displacing others or even giving them unfair prices for their property. It might seem like at the time until they find out otherwise that they could have gotten more. But none of that can happen without having a willing government. And the government in the city of Atlanta, whenever these projects started and all, we can just go back and see who the mayors were. Not that, trying to cast it, we just want people to know cause and effect, what happens. So as relates to Atlanta public schools, give us your opinion about the charter schools, the different types and the trajectory that Atlanta has been on or was on. Please tell us what you think about the charter schools in Atlanta. Are they good or bad? What are the pros and cons that taxpayers need to know?
Okay. So, and I just want to make sure I'm answering this correctly. You're asking about the actual charter schools and not their charter system.
Well, that charter system was put in place because the Atlanta public schools chose to do that when Governor Perdue, which was a Democrat, came up with a system with the help of one of the big superintendents. When he said E square, and you can either remain traditional or go charter, this bright idea, and started punishing folks with money,
Yes.
like that governor's trying to do in Florida about the mass in Broward County happened to be organized and they fought back. In the my good old city here, we have not had folk who we have helped put in office to help organize labor, even live and thrive. Therefore, we are not there to fight back. So, even some people in labor are being co-opted. So let's just talk about the school district, city of Atlanta. The school, we have, they all say they're public because they receive public tax dollars, but there are
Yes,
some
ma'am.
companies
Yes.
who go into, we don't see them going into school districts that are mainly white. They are mainly minority school districts.
Yeah, well, it's only one on the north side that is currently with the charter, and we have, they run amok on our side with 13. So, and it may be 17 now. I don't know, but the last time I checked, it was 13, and it's really gutting our school system. And so we want to make sure that we get somebody in office with integrity. When I got into this, as you know, it was just because my son, I just went to the board meeting and was like, my son doesn't have his third grade teacher. And then I found out about the school turnaround plan, and the rabbit hole has not stopped since. So until we get our dollars back to our actual school buildings in our community that should be ran by the people and not by a company, we are always going to have that problem, not just for our schools, but also for our property. So
who was the superintendent when that turnaround plan existed or came about?
You want to make me say her name out loud, Dr. Christophin.
And who was the chair of the board at the time?
Courtney English. And Verdaillia, I was sitting there.
I'm not asking you to do a judgment. I'm just asking you.
I was sitting there thinking to myself, this can't be real. I thought that, and we were all in that room together. I remember one reverend, and I don't even know his name. He was dressed like Hosea Williams, had on his overalls, and it was just like they could care less what we were talking about. Dr. Starfin had on the color red like she was a bull, and she turned her back on me that night. That was one of the most, and so now, because I was so impacted, and they already had a mama bear that was there that was just trying to make sure I had a third grade teacher to teach my son multiplication. He's in high school now. But I'm not going to stop. I'm not going to stop telling people what we need to do to make sure that we're stable in our communities, because stable schools make stable Atlanta.
What could we do
property value
to attract and retain the best teachers in the city of Atlanta? I know city of Atlanta like to talk about we pay more money. I worked in the district. Frank P. worked in the district. Mona worked in the district. We called it comeback pay. Okay. And still, we know that everybody's competing with pay, and we're still way down when it comes to attracting the best and brightest in some of our other states who are outshining Georgia, and cities who are outshining Atlanta. What could we do? What should we do? Let's just be radical here. We're asking different people different questions in order to bring the best and brightest teachers here, and it's not all about pay. Mm-hmm. Talk about that for a little bit.
And I'm glad, and I take it to heart. And you probably don't know this, but I recently lost my mom. Her name was Gracie Hutcherson. She worked at Fane Elementary School, and Fane was dismantled by the school turnaround plan. So they merged Fane with another school and called it the new Harper Archer Elementary School. Well, the problem with that, my mom was one of only 5 teachers that was rehired, and they made all of the other teachers basically have to lose their contract. Well, the night that the school turnaround plan went into effect, Dr. Christophin made the most Anyway, she made this statement that the reason teachers would stay in Atlanta Public School is because they get $10,000 more. And we all know that if you don't have a job from year to year with that stability, they'll go to other counties. So those teachers came to the counties that I work in Douglas. My friend works in DeKalb. They start going to these other counties because they knew that they would have a contract from year to year. So we can't just threaten people with their jobs and say, you know, you because your school is low performing, you're now going to be made to rehire. And basically that just makes it, where the school is gutted. Instead of sending them to a different school or letting them get a transfer, or they give them no contract. And that's insane. I mean, it was more than just the teachers, it was the principals, the media specialists. They're losing all of those warm bodies in that school, and our kids now have to go and be bused far away. And the school turnaround plan, we knew that it wasn't going to work back then, and that was when Thomasville Heights went under, or they forced it under. That's what Courtney allowed to happen. And then now at 2021, we're still having the same problem with Fane and Venetian Hills. So you asked me, what is my goal? My goal is to keep it very simple. We already have more than educated people. I think educators have the most degrees in the world. Like an English teacher have like 6 degrees hanging on their walls. They're more than capable. What they need is another warm body in there to assist them. So if we could get where we offer stipends instead of bringing out that brand new program. So they have these programs, and I know because I've been in education for 100 years almost, it seems. They have these different programs. For instance, let's say Star Reader. And they'll say, oh, it's something simple. The teacher can just do this in their classroom while the other teachers are, while you're teaching. Like you can teach and then they'll be on the computer. Well, just like today, I had a student that, he didn't want to do anything. And even though we were doing something on a computer and it was to show what the trajectory of his life would change, it was difficult for him to focus. He didn't believe in himself. So you're dealing with all of these different elements that could be solved by bringing in warm bodies. Title I schools have a different dynamic. You're going to have to try and convince the child, convince the parent, grandparent, whoever they're living with, and then sometimes convincing no one because they are in a foster care system. So instead of trying to give them a new program to implement that's going to make teaching easier, what they need to do is make sure they have more warm bodies in that classroom to assist the teacher to do what they need to do. And that could be bringing in college students from different colleges that have kids that are learning right now. They're learning to be school social workers, school counselors, school speech therapists. They can give them stipends and allow them to come in and assist these teachers. And it could be like a triage. And so when this triage comes in to assist the teachers, they can get little Johnny while teacher is over there doing small group and make sure that little Johnny is finishing their assignment or that they're understanding the assignment. Or they're staying on task and being motivated, or just telling them, you know what, you're doing a good job. Because a lot of our kids don't even believe that what they're doing is good enough. And to have this stigma of saying that we are low performing schools, well, that's money. Anytime you say a child is low performing, they're going to send in more money. But the money doesn't go where it's supposed to go. It goes to these Grady high schools, it goes to the Northside high schools. We need it here in our school system. And I get fired up about it. I'm trying not to get yelled. But I get fired up about it because I graduated from the school system and I wanted my son to do that as well. But as you know, I had to take him out and put him in a private school because I did not want him to falter because of some stupid program that these people had put in place. And now I'm fighting not only for my child, but others and our property.
Yeah, thank you for telling us why you did that. In all fairness, last time we endorsed you for position, and I knew why you did that. So you're telling the public. We're still yet to hear from some of our city officials. Some of them aren't running anymore, who uh, have their influence because they represent the public in the city of Atlanta, but their children are going to private schools. And so we want to see a better relationship between the Atlanta Board of Education and City Council and also Fulton County. We don't want it to be talked about. We want to see it done.
Yes.
And there's a lot of overlapping, there's a lot of turf. But if a person didn't do but one thing, beat the drum, beat the drum, beat the drum, we don't need overlapping, and we need to put some of these tax dollars to real work and stop giving away tax dollars to special folk and then stop passing the buck onto a system that was put in place later on. Then, but that begins with really making the public aware that there's more going on between elections, and it's not just about that November election. It's about voter education. Because once the boyfriend take you to the drive-in, it's over. Until next time. Anyway, okay.
Yes.
Tell us about the relationship between the superintendent and the board. Who works for who?
And see that, and I tell you, I've been in education for 20 plus years, and now I just feel empowered now that I've gotten into this process. The higher up you go in any government official, the more people you have to answer to. And so the great thing about the board is that we employ the superintendent. That's our one employee. So we are the ones that make sure that the people are being heard and that the superintendent is implementing that. And then if the superintendent is not doing that, then we need another superintendent. And that's what the board is supposed to do. We're supposed to listen to the people, and the people run the board runs the superintendent, and then it goes back. So it's a continuous checking in.
And it's a
check it down
job, actually, because there's so many different interests, and some of them are competing for your attention, because you are going to run the biggest government in the city with a 1.4, $1.5 billion budget. And of course, there are going to be a lot of people and a lot of interest coming after those dollars. And
I'm pretty sure you'll keep me on my toes.
Well, Frankie and I will try.
I am pretty sure you and Miss Smith and all of you guys that have brought us down and really taught us to advocate. Because see, as a young educator, when I first got into this, I was thinking, oh, I can just go and teach and do my best job. But now I'm on the side of, now not only do I have to do my best job, I have to protect my job. I have to protect my community. I have to protect those that are going before me and after me. So in order to do that, we have to get into politics. And that's why I'm doing this. So I'm going to keep doing it. I'm going to keep talking to whoever will listen, because it's the right thing to do. The right thing to do is always going to be right. So I'm going to keep doing that.
You know, teachers want to teach. We say teachers, we're talking about those people who are school-based personnel. And we don't like to indulge in things that are don't feel good, okay? Like politics.
Yeah.
Politics,
we just want to be like, tell me I'm doing a good job. And that's how we want. And really and truly, if they have people that are protecting them, then they can do that. But it doesn't go that way anymore. Public education is under fire simply because of the real estate that our schools sit on. Bethune Elementary School was not closed by mistake. It was closed because our Buckhead Coalition is giving dollars to the school board. And of course, if you say, hey, Bethune is low performing, that is right across from the Mercedes-Benz Stadium. So of course, Arthur Blank is going to endorse your campaign if you're dismantling that school. I predict that they will come and take over those school properties for a low price, and it's prime real estate, and that's not fair.
And how are we defining low performing?
Oh my goodness, you can make people low performing by any nth of a percentage. You can say they're low performing if they're not doing well on the EOC, they're not doing well the CCRPI, they're not doing well with, so they can always pump these numbers, but low performing really is just to get more dollars. And we need to stop calling people low performing. It's ridiculous. If you're in a community where we're going to have poverty anyway, of course you're going to have your issues, but can everybody survive and make it? Yes. My friend Dr. Labrita Cash Basket, she's a speech therapist. She owns her own business. She went to Hampton University, and she used to live in the projects up there on Larkin. What was it? Not John Hope. It was Labrita lived in university homes. So it was a new project at that time, but she's from the project. Like it didn't matter. we all learned together, we all had opportunities, and we all did well, because we had people that were instilling in us. So you're going to always have people that's either going to go into the workforce, they're either going to go into college, or they're going to go into the military, and that's what we're going to do to get them there. But if we got to have a school there first. We got to have our schools open so we can get them there. And in order I mean, Jesse Tuggle, okay, this is one more example, and then I'm gonna stop. Jesse Tuggle came from Griffin, Georgia. They had dirt floors. You understand me? But he went into the public school system. And now imagine if he had to go to, a school that was not even there. He didn't have a school bus to come pick him up. He would have been, not able to go and play for the Falcons and become one of those people that, was a walk-on, and he went to school. He did all that stuff, but it was because of a public school system. So it is a system that can work as long as we work it. Is it going to be some, just like any family, any marriage, it's going to be some ups, it's going to be some downs, it's going to be some ins and out, but we have a system to work on, kind of like having Big Mama's house. If everybody else lose their house, but at least we know we own Big Mama house. So we need to make sure we own our schools.
You are an African-American woman that's serving mostly African-American students that you're serving. Am I correct in that? The majority?
Yes, it's 70% African-American at our schools. At the school that I'm working at, or you mean in Thero High School cluster?
Thero High School cluster and the school you're working.
Okay, well, the school that I'm working at is 70%. I do know those numbers. For Thero High School, I need to look at those numbers again, but I'm pretty sure it's a way higher percentage of African Americans that's currently at Thero High School cluster and South Atlanta High School cluster.
And in city government and at the school district level, the majority of our representatives what are they in terms of ethnicity?
Well, the Atlanta Public School Board is all Black, but that doesn't mean anything. Candace Owen is Black, and she supports, some of the most interesting things that the Republicans have put out there since Mr. Trump was in office. So Candace Owens, although she is as blacker than me, actually, she does not represent the people that I represent, and that's people that need support. That's me. I don't know what she's thinking. I really don't.
Running or not?
I can't hear you. What?
Is Candace running or not?
She is not. Candace Owens is the Black one who is always on the CNN and Fox News talking about that. She is supporting. I'm Black, but
I know what you're talking about. Yes, right.
And then she starts talking about Obama, and first she was a Democrat, now she's switched to become a Republican. It's really strange. Her life is. So you're gonna have Black people who are on these boards, but they're not representing people of color. They're representing dollars.
Or they're representing a political party for another something else, for another agenda.
Wherever the money is, that's where they want to be, and that's not what service is supposed to be.
That's right. It's not supposed to be that. So when we say Black folk need to stick together, I know a person the other day was very angry at me when I said you just can't put all Black people in a group. Just like, you can't, just like you can't put all white people in a group. But if we have guiding principles and we know the truth, if we can get the truth out there, that might help us with some of the solutions. As an educator, you're well versed in some of the solutions as it relates to school problems and what some of those problems are. What are some of the impediments that exist in Atlanta? I don't want to talk about states. I'm going to talk about Atlanta, what we can do something about. What are some of those impediments to educators such as yourselves getting your ideas actualized?
So I know that the one thing that I have to come against again is that the Atlanta Public School Board is saying that if you work for a school system, not that you work for Atlanta Public School System, but any school system, you can't be, have your civil rights represented and be a person on that board. Well, that really, I don't understand.
Atlanta Public Schools are saying that?
Yes, Atlanta Public School has a piece in their law that says if you work for any education system, you cannot serve on their board, which is a direct violation of civil rights for any person that wants to run, such as myself. So I was represented the last election. The only reason the judge did not finish hearing the full case is because I did not get the seat. My goal is to get that seat this time, overturn that law because my civil rights are not being protected, and to make sure that I get into office so that people who are in education, people that know about communities, people that have that, want to protect others and can hear what they're saying and understand it. Because, I didn't even realize I was in a debate and the incumbent did not know what the SST process was. And I was like, okay, I don't. So, with that being said, I was not aware, and she said she's a teacher. So I am very leery of why they would do that, try to violate people's civil rights, other than that they want, to keep the board to where people don't know what they're talking about, don't know what they're doing, and then we're back in the same boat. But that's not my goal. My goal is to make sure that people know what's going on and know how to protect their children, protect their properties, and protect their interests. Even if you don't have children, you got to protect these schools because it helps your property value.
Okay, that is one impediment, and thank you for that. Again, I'm saying we're recording this. If you don't have teachers, you're not gonna have school. I know it's for the kids, that goes without saying. But teachers in Atlanta public school system doesn't have a approach like world-class school districts. They don't have a system where they are heard and respected, and there's some teeth in it and some oomph in it. What do you think should be done so that there's an organized, not handpicked by the administration, not meetings held around town, not these advisory boards, where the employees actually know that the persons representing them don't have a conflict of interest, and that they are really rawly representing the professionals in those schools? What could and should Atlanta Board of Education do if they know about that process and if they respect that process? What should happen?
So there are many surveys out there that can make sure that teachers' voices are being heard, and it can be anonymous. That's the first thing. So if you are able to share without the threat of that this principal is going to know that I said this, or this superintendent, then you're able to share the truth about what's going on at your school, in your community. So what we use in my school district is called Satchel Pulse. Now, it says that it's supposed to be with anonymity. It does collect your email address, and that's just to verify that you do work for that system. It goes out to a different company, and then the demographics are given to the principal so that they are able to see, this is what we need to do better at. We need to make sure that the teachers feel empowered, that they're having the resources that they need. Now, the one thing that they can't do, which I feel we need to also add, is have a vignette where you can just kind of free type and say how you're feeling. And the reason, and I asked, I said, before I send any type of feedback, I can do the survey, but I need to know how I can send feedback. And they said that's not anonymous. So I never send any short answers. But my goal would be,
all administration, we had all kinds of surveys and audits done, and we've been knowing for years and months and Sundays, and I guess I'll be in heaven. I don't plan to go to other places. I know some folks have told me to go there though. Before we get to write it, here's the answer. I'm just gonna flat out say it. World-class school districts have a process of negotiation with teeth in it, where professionals are respected at the table. You don't have to call it collective bargaining. Now, I'm not gonna argue with my doctor when I go to my doctor, because I'm respect that he knows a body of information that I don't know. Now, people are talking about COVID back and forth, another situation. I break my leg, I get shot, I have a heart attack. I'm gonna depend upon whatever doctor's there. But we have played games with the process for far too long, where states that are catapulted ahead of us and school districts way ahead of us in so many places in this country and around the world have a process where the professionals are in charge through a respected process. So we're not gonna play games. Now,
So are we talking like New York? Because I know New York City, for instance, those teachers, they do not get played with. So I would like to know their system.
Thank you. Also look at the Organization of Economic Cooperation and Development. President Biden has mentioned it several times. It's been around for a while. And a bipartisan organization, I'm trying to think of the name of it right now, composed of legislators, we have all of the information, has adopted and listened to and are practicing and trying to push legislation in their state that will pay attention to what OECD is saying makes a world-class school district. And it's irrefutable that the teachers are the ones sending folk out of that door who shouldn't teach. The teachers are the ones saying this will work, this will not work, and this is why it will work. I mean, we can't get around that. We put everything else on the boilerplate and now, and we talk about this and that, but that's one thing that we're telling all organizations to get with us on that. As you probably, I know you may not know that Central Labor Council may be endorsing or looking at endorsing people. And I'm going to say it up front. We love our brothers and sisters, and we're in sync with most of them over there. And sometimes we fight in the family. But last time we got undercut, and a board was elected with the help of AFSCME, who represents bus drivers, don't represent teachers, don't represent counselors, represent sanitation workers in the city of Atlanta. And God knows we need bus drivers and sanitation workers. But they're not teachers. But they're teachers. And we got folk like Courtney English, I'm just gonna name him because he used to be on the school board saying that labor unions were behind me. He asked me went renegade. Now the world needs to know that and went against the Central Labor Council's process. People don't want to talk about it in labor, but it's true. And they got behind Courtney. And we know what Courtney did, and we just gave him an email. Okay, we want Courtney to come to the interview. Yes, I did. But anyway, that's another thing. All right. But unless, I mean, y'all, I'm not trying to be, but we get tired of this game playing stuff. But let's talk about tax abatement. Whereas the money that may be due to the school district is not coming. We have heard that it's tied up in court. Yeah, but if it wasn't tied up in court, what would you support in terms of the Gulch and development and all these big tax abatements, millions and millions of dollars that should go to the school district?
Okay, so yes, schools should be fully funded. That's just common sense. And when we're not fully funded, we're unable to do the job of teaching our children. We do it. We have been doing it, and we can do anything because during COVID, when it shut down, we kept teaching even from home. So in answer to your question, so when I got into this race back in 2017, I learned about the Mercedes-Benz Stadium. And I got mad with the council at that time because I heard that they gave pretty much 30 years, no taxes paid for the Mercedes-Benz Stadium. And the problem with that is that all of your service areas, the police officers, the firefighters, the teachers, the educators, the schools, they're not going to get that dollar amount paid to them. Well, we need to make sure that anything that comes in our city goes to our service workers because we're the ones that's making the city viable, making the city flourish. And the money needs to go to the schools. I mean, it needs to, I don't know what else to say other than that we need to be fully funded. But
we see these actions and on paper and these initiatives on paper and policy passed on paper, but I'm going to ask you a very simple question. How did these ideas get on paper to be voted on?
Lawmakers, politicians.
Okay. And so what we ask people to do is look at the relationship between some of these politicians, especially in the city of Atlanta. I know it could be anywhere else, but right now we're talking about the city of Atlanta. And thank you for that. Where could we find?
The only one who didn't vote for that is Felicia Moore. And I liked her for a moment. So I'm hoping that she has integrity. I support, when she said that she was the only one that didn't vote for that Mercedes-Benz thing, and I'm not putting in the plug. I just really felt comfortable with her.
There are some close relationships between people who are running for and or serving on city council and the Atlanta school system, which has a budget higher than the city of Atlanta. We don't begrudge that at all because I want friends. All of us need friends to get things passed, but I'm not going to apologize. Sometimes those things are done in tandem and right up front, and they begin with the end in mind. We've seen it happen around the country. Where the goal is to make money, and you can justify anything. But it
Well,
may
you
not.
showed that movie, Money in My Backpack, with Matt Damon. So that
Backpack full of money.
backpack full of money. That's it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I've been telling all my friends, but I'm like, Verdaillia, she showed us this video. She showed us because you did like a showing of it during the last campaign, and it was exactly what we were saying.
Could you believe a few years ago? This is not to throw rocks at Democrats. God knows I'm not. I voted Democrat all my life. Sometimes I didn't vote at all for some offices but we asked some leaders of caucuses, could we show that movie or just pass out the flyer? And they didn't let me do it. And it might be because they had a Democratic star that was going to speak that we know the record on. Listen, let's wrap this up. Let's wrap this up.
I love you. I do. I love Verdaillia.
Oh, well, sometimes Verdaillia gets a little jaded with us. I crack jokes all day long, but thank you so much. When an election time comes, I'm going to say this in closing for everybody to know. Election time is accountability time. That's when the voters are hiring people and putting their trust in people to look out for their best interest. And so many times, people who are running for office are tapped to run for office, and they tell us half truths or some truths, and we can't read their minds. And so the public is going to put their trust in somebody, and those years are going to pass by, and then we can pass the buck as to why things happen and why things did not happen. But we know it's always right to do right. And just as folks get behind closed doors, my mama said nothing go but devil's back, don't buckle on his belly. And don't get angry with us when we put you on blast. I'm just saying that. Okay. But we're not trying to put folk on blast, but
Right.
we get played a lot of times, for lack of a better. But anything that you want to say to us in closing that you want to leave the voters with, that they need to know, that which distinguishes you from one above another person or candidate, and why you should be elected?
Absolutely. I could talk about this all day, but my closing remark is that I'm here very simply to protect our children, protect our schools, protect our community, and protect our property value. And I encourage everyone to continue to go to electpatreece.com and to vote for me on November 2nd for Atlanta Public School Board District 6, because it's more than just the children that are getting gutted. It's our community.
Thank you so very much for those statements, and stay safe.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Good night.
Thank you. Bye.